Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of KerVAM. It's another of our weekly KerVAM podcasts because today we're talking about The Giggle. I feel like an episode where there's a whole lot to talk about, so we might as well just get straight into it. I'm joined by Ryan, Charlie, and Bill. And well, Ryan, I did say 7 days ago the first question I'm going to ask on this podcast is Wild Blue Yonder still the best episode?
Yes, it is still the
Yeah?
best. Yep, it's still the best episode.
Okay.
And that's not to diminish this, but it's no coincidence that this came out just a couple of weeks before Christmas because, boy, there was a lot to unwrap.
Oh, yeah, there certainly is. There certainly is. We got, the return of the toy maker, the return of Unit, Kate, Mel, the Bayou generation, and all that it entails. So there's a whole lot to talk about. And well, Ryan, we'll come to you first. Give us your sort of and there's a lot of topics to cover, but just some, I don't know, some general thoughts, kind of the feelings after the episode, like good, bad, in the middle. Where are you sitting?
It is definitely solid. It is solid. I think I enjoyed it a little tiny bit more than the first episode, but doesn't match the heights of the second episode. It's definitely solid. It is sometimes the pacing is a little bit too fast because they're trying to cram so much into 1 hour. It does feel like the pacing is a bit rushed, but for what they tried to do, I think it's about as best they could handle it, and it's relatively, I wouldn't say calm, but more somewhat manageable for the first 40 to 45 minutes before then it goes to the nth degree in those last 15 minutes, which I'm pretty sure we all have a lot of wildly different thoughts to talk about. And who would have thought that all those leaks that came out, was it a year ago or was it a bit more than that? But who would have thought those leaks and dialogue leaks from all those years ago actually turned out to be true?
I mean, Russell needs to do some investigation into Badwell Studios and what's going on there. Honestly, the leaks are unbelievable. How bad, like the leaking is. People are just leaking whole like sections of dialogue, all the plot. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, he even mentioned that on the
Yeah,
InVision
I know. I
commentary.
love how self-aware he is. That he just knows that it's all leaked. He's like, well, it's all leaked, but whatever.
Yeah, and he mentioned beforehand that there was a lot of stuff that he sort of spitballed on that InVision commentary, and boy, even then, he's looking at that one, there was a lot to unpack there as well. It kind of broke my brain a little bit, which I never thought would happen, but there we are.
There's, as you say, there's certainly a lot to talk about and a lot of crazy things going on. Bill, we obviously saw in this story the return of the toy maker for the first time since the 1960s, and well, it was probably I feel like quite a unique villain. Really, I think something quite different to what we've really seen. It's not the Master again or whatever. It's a very very different sort of villain. So, what did you think of that kind of element of the story, the whole kind of toy maker storyline and his character in this story?
I think Neil Patrick Harris needs to be commended for the performance he gave because he was just full of this amazing, sinister, manic energy, whatever it is, from start to finish. And just the fact that he could go from dancing to the Spice Girls 1 minute to being being really like horrible to Doctor in terms of dredging up like the Doctor's past memories of like what he went through with Amy, Clara, Bill, the flux and everything. And I just found it funny. I kept saying how the toy maker would go, oh well, Clara got killed by a bird, and then the Doctor would be like, well, actually, she still exists in like the split second of her life, whatever. And then the toy maker would say like a mock American voice, like, well, that's all right. As if to kind of like mock the Doctor's kind of like standards of kind of saying, well, it's clearly not okay for Clara to be in that kind of state. It's not okay for Bill to be a puddle, and it's not okay for Amy to have been sent back in time and stuff. And I loved the whole toy maker's domain. I feel like we could have gotten more of that in this episode because it felt like they were really bigging up the toy maker, I think, in terms of his return in the promotional stuff in the trailers and everything. But for what we got, I feel like it is just again, like the original Toymaker serial, kind of not quite living up to what the Toymaker himself can do, I think, in terms of making him so otherworldly and so terrifying. They kind of lead into it in some ways with the puppets, and that was great. Really terrifying, but really good. But yeah, it was just kind of, I feel like we could have spent more time going through some of them doors and just being just creeped out by the toy maker's domain. But yeah, I think, as Ryan says, I think the pacing was a bit off in some places, but I think that's just because it was just trying to get through everything that Russell wanted to do in this episode, really, which even at over an hour long was a lot. I mean,
totally.
It probably needed more runtime, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this episode potentially would have worked better as like 2 45-minute episodes or something, like a classic two-parter. I think 60 minutes just wasn't really enough to kind of fully explore and tackle all the ideas in this episode. Like the toy maker, I felt like we were absolutely just racing through this episode. I think the pacing felt like pretty rapid right from the start. We're like, scene in the past, then boom, scene in the present, end of the world, the Doctor's at unit, Doctor goes back in time, suddenly he's being tormented by the toy maker, suddenly you see all the old companions, suddenly he's back in, like, it just was constant, like, intense energy, which was really cool and really exciting. But I also just felt like I wanted to see more of the toy maker's realm and this whole like mysterious sort of way that he could just create and destroy anything and like do whatever he likes. I think that's a fascinating idea. And the fact we kind of only explored that for sort of 15 minutes and then, well, seemingly killed him off at the end of the story, I was like, well, that's a bit of a waste, isn't it? You could have done quite a lot more with that. So yeah, I really liked him, but I think there was more potential there maybe. And Charlie, well, what I feel like I'm kind of waiting on talking about the main thing, but I feel like we might as well just go for it. Let's be real, it's the thing everybody wants to talk about. So we kind of knew it was happening, but Bigeneration, yes or no?
That is not an easy question. So on paper, right? So I did see the leaks. I didn't realize that these were the leaks that were going to happen because it was so long ago. I was like, no way is this real?
Yeah.
I did not, like, I knew that a big leak was happening, so I was like, oh, I wonder which one it could be. And then it was the Bigeneration. I was like, oh, I remember that. And I completely brushed it off like a year ago.
Yeah.
On paper, it's not very good. Like, on paper, it's not very good. I think it's interesting because it's most of the time when something goes bad in Doctor Who, I think more often than not, it's a good concept executed badly. Okay. I think this is a very rare case when it's actually a pretty bad concept that's executed surprisingly well. And I think it kind of works in a way. Like, it's very ambiguous. Like, it leaves us with so many questions. I made the main one being, what is going to happen to this 14th Doctor? Like, is he a human? Is he going to die? Is he going to regenerate into Shooty, or is he going to regenerate into someone else? I saw a theory that said he's the curator, which makes loads of sense. But like, it's just there's another Doctor on Earth, and we're supposed to just sort of be okay with that. And what's more annoying is we're probably not going to see him again.
Yeah.
And if we are, it will be the 70th or 75th or whatever anniversary, because David Tennant will return.
Mm-hmm. But I'm sure, yes. It's inevitable, let's be real.
It's going to happen, but I kind of want him to play this like other 14th Doctor, just so we can sort of acknowledge that it exists. Like, I hope he just doesn't do another 60th anniversary and come back as the 19th Doctor or whatever.
I feel like they've at least done this one now. Like, they shouldn't do it again. Well, maybe unless RTD3 happens in 20 years' time, and he'll just be like, well, let's bring back David Tennant again.
An endless cycle of Russell, Moffat, and Chibnall.
Just stuck in an endless time loop, like heaven's sake.
I'm not looking forward to Chibnall too.
Well, I mean, well, yeah, maybe not.
But no, I think it worked surprisingly well. Like, it happened at first, the regeneration energy faded, and I sort of like, okay, I know what's happening.
Yeah.
And then the whole pulling thing was weird, like, pull me, and it's like, what? I think it was quite a nice final scene for him, but then we have all that. And I was immediately like, oh dear. But the more it went on, the more I thought, this is kind of cool, actually. Like, seeing David and Shooty together being the Doctor, and like they both in unison said, like, I challenge you to a duel. That was so cool. Like, it's so strange. I'm still sort of wrapping my head around it that this has actually happened. It's very Timeless Child-esque, but I feel a lot more positive about it than that. But that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's so strange, and it kind of leaves more questions than answers. But I mean, I watched your video, I want to tell you, and like you were saying, it kind of doesn't matter. It kind of doesn't matter at all. Shooty's the Doctor, and if we do see this weird other David Tennant incarnation again, it's not going to be for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
So why bother thinking about it?
Exactly. Like, I know Disney Plus and all this, like, let's make spin-offs and all that, but the reason that we only got 3 specials with David Tennant is because he's too busy to do anything else. Like, I don't think he's suddenly going to come back and do a spin-off show. Like, why would he do that, really? Like, what's in it for him to kind of to suddenly be the star of a lesser version of Doctor Who, essentially? I just don't think that's, from that perspective, something he's want to do. Maybe he'll randomly show up for little cameos in the show, something like that, maybe. But I feel like it's less likely. And as you say, I obviously was a bit like up and down on it the other day. I think my main kind of thing that I'm just don't love is the whole idea that it's happened to all the other Doctors as well. I just don't really feel like it's necessary that happened. I know it's basically just RTD's kind of headcanon is kind of, he just said it in the commentary. It's not in the text, as it were. You can't read into the Giggle and the dialogue of that and say this has happened to all the previous Doctors. Like, there's nothing there that says that. But it just, like, for me, it just feels like firstly, it's like spoils character arcs from the past. Like, it took ages for the 12th Doctor to kind of accept he had to change. And so what? He just wakes up 5 minutes later and he's like, oh, well, I'm still the 12th Doctor. Cool. Nice. It just feels like it undermines the whole, like, character arcs of different Doctors and the point they've reached sort of when they regenerate. And then just practical things like, okay, so the 12th Doctor, let's just take the 12th Doctor. Okay, he wakes up again, not just after regenerating. So is he in Jodie's, like, is he in the TARDIS with Jodie now? Like, where's the spare TARDIS? We only got another TARDIS here because the Toymaker was still kind of vaguely existing and we got a giant novelty hammer out. But whereas, like, what happens to all the other ones? Do they just not get a TARDIS? Do they get kicked out of it? It doesn't really make any sense. Like, I don't think it really works as an idea. So that part of it I don't love. Like, I think this bit of it's fine. The actual Shooty and David thing is fine. My kind of headcanon on it is the whole thing, which again I think is slightly implied within the episode, that Shooty is kind of like the 15th Doctor, but sort of a bit further on from where we see David Tennant at this point. And the 14th Doctor, at some point down the line, after he's kind of, I don't know, dealt with whatever he needs to deal with, he kind of doesn't regenerate into someone new, but kind of, I know it sounds rubbish, but like regenerates into thin air and kind of time merges into the point at which Shooty comes out in this episode. And so we've had all that dealing with, and then he kind of merges into what Shooty is at the start of when we see him in this episode. That's my headcanon, which I kind of feel like, because sort of Shooty mentions how he's kind of, dealt with what's happened in the past and all that kind of thing, and 14 hasn't yet, so how can it, just have happened in that moment? So that's my headcanon. Go on, Ryan, I can tell you're itching to throw some ideas in. What do you disagree with me completely?
I actually kind of agree with you on that one, because after hearing, it's an interesting theory from Russell, and I can understand why there will be a section of the audience that would love it, because in doing that, by saying that all the Doctors have splintered off into their own timelines with their own TARDIS, it kind of makes everything canon.
Yeah.
It can make all sorts of things canon, like Big Finish stuff canon, Tales from the TARDIS, it can make anything. Or unofficial Doctors, it can make all that canon if it wanted to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as you mentioned, it does kind of dampens the impact of those other regenerations. Like 12, for example. I mean, 12 had a great arc in those last 3 episodes, which I still think is the best regeneration story ever. And if that happened, it would kind of ruin that somewhat. Same with all the others, like the 4th Doctors with Logopolis. And
yeah, exactly. Just feel weird.
And funny enough, the bi-generation thing reminded me a lot of The Watcher from Logopolis a lot.
Yeah.
By the way, it did remind me a lot of that. So not only that, but to say that when it happens, it splinters off Doctors, it kind of makes the Doctor too immortal and infinite now, because it's like, well, if he's immortal and infinite now, where's the stakes? Where's the drama? If Shooty dies and he regenerates, that's not going to happen, because it's going to be like, well, there's no need to be emotional because he's going to splinter off, so it kind of lessens the impact, and it just makes the Doctor too immortal and infinite. I mean, yes, in the past we knew the Doctor would regenerate, when they died. But the 13 lives limit left us with some kind of stakes. And of course, when he did get that regeneration cycle on Trendler, it was ambiguous. Like, we didn't know how much he got left. But now, if this is true, what Russell is saying is true, then the Doctor's immortal and infinite now. So where's the stakes there?
Yeah.
But then again, I suppose there is that line from the Five Doctors: immortality is a curse, not a blessing, and all that. But...
Well, indeed, yeah, exactly. And like 14's just going to live endlessly on Earth with Donna and a TARDIS now. Like, he's not. That's not what he's going to do. But I don't know. You just sort of wonder how. I think the key thing is we just don't really have the answers. And I don't know, Bill, what you think about this, but I don't know how I feel about the fact that a lot of our understanding of this has come out of interviews and Russell's thoughts on a commentary rather than the actual episode of the show, which is what the 90% of the audience are going to see and sort of understand. And maybe, as I said in the other video, it's because it doesn't really matter. Maybe that's why. But I just feel it's a bit weird that we're kind of learning that there's this whole new Doctorverse, or whatever Russell wants to call it, but we're learning that from an interview rather than from the actual show. I don't know. What do you think, Bill?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. So it then begs the question of, is Russell just making stuff up? Because that is, as much as
probably yes,
I get,
is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of for a showrunner to lie, is it? So I would not say it's impossible that he's literally just making all this stuff up just to wind us up.
It's entirely possible. Yeah.
That like, is very likely. It's like 50-50. Yeah. I mean, if he isn't, then, well, it just depends. It really depends on if he wants to do anything with it. If he wants to, I don't know, try and bring back some previous Doctor who would be interested in coming back and try and do some kind of interesting story about what happens if they don't regenerate or something. Like, if they manage to convince Peter Capaldi to come back, that might be interesting story, even if it would go completely against everything that his arc went through. And same with Matt Smith, same with Jodie. There will be something there, but it just depends on whether Russell wants to do that. And I think that is the problem. I think we don't know whether Russell is just pulling our legs or if he is sincere in wanting to actually go down this route. Because, to be honest, in the commentary, I think he does say it in a pretty jokey sort of way. Because then they're all joking about all sorts of other very niche Doctor references in the same commentary.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's going to do. I think it's just a mad idea of his, which he can either do something with or not. And just, I mean, hopefully we can just get away from relying too much on trying to change up the show's lore and just focus on, I mean, I don't have too much of an issue with it, but I think first and foremost, it should be about telling a good story of good characters. And I think that is more important than the Doctor not being who they thought they were in The Timeless Child or by regeneration happening or whatever. As much as these can be good ideas when executed properly, it just feels to me like that shouldn't be the main focus of the show. It should be about, you just tell a good story and you leave all that canon stuff to one side and let us fans just debate about that, basically. I don't know. It, as I say, it is so difficult to tell what is going on in Russell's head. So
a lot of crazy things, I think.
I mean, again, I have to bring up that Spice Girls scene because that is just, that is pure Russell, isn't it?
Yeah, I know Chibnall did the Rasputin scene last year, and that was also that kind of vein, but I feel like this was just such a Russell moment, really, wasn't it? It was totally just nuts, crazy, but amazing. I loved it.
Russell did mention something about the law and canon and the Timeless Child. He actually, the line the toy maker says to the Doctor, the jigsaw puzzle out of your history, did you like it? That can be inferred as that the toy maker messed with the Doctor's past. So all these different origins for the Doctor, they all happened at once, basically. Like the original origin that he was just an ordinary Time Lord, or like the whole half human Origin from the Paul McGann movie, The Timeless Child, they all happened at once, basically. The Toymaker sort of messed up his own history. And that I actually kind of loved, because it kind of, Russell saying, the Doctor can be anything you want him to be, basically.
Yeah.
So whatever origin you fancy, it happened. So
Looms happened.
Yeah, the
Barrow, all of it. It's all true. That's the only true canon now.
Oh yeah, the infamous Cartmel master plan and the other, and
yeah. The Doctor is the other. Didn't you know that? It's pretty obvious from the text. Yeah. Sorry, come on.
Which, just like the Timeless Child, it's kind of dumb, basically. But I'm glad that was addressed, and Russell's kind of put that to bed, basically. He's in a way, he's kind of put a bit of a cap on that, saying he can be anything you want him to be. Any origin is canon in your head, basically. Yep. So that I appreciated. And even if the whole biogeneration, these theories absolutely nuts. But then again, this happened before with the End of Time, when he said that woman that we never knew about, in his theory, it's the Doctor's mother, but they never said it in the episode. So is that really true? Like, you couldn't make the argument that it's Susan or Romana.
No, it's Tecteun. Come on, it's Tecteun. It's obvious.
No, please.
That deleted scene from The Timeless Children. Come on.
No.
I feel like Russell's just kind of intentionally destroying canon, just kind of for the lols, is what it kind of feels like. It's like canon doesn't matter anymore. And he's talked about going into, like, turning it into more of a fantasy show than a sci-fi show as well. So I feel like he's just kind of gone, I'm going to lean into this just being bonkers and crazy and not really mattering if I mess something up from 30 years ago or whatever. Like, it's fine. I just make Doctor Who I want now, which I get it. I don't know if I love it or not, but I get it. And I also do wonder, like, Russell probably wrote this story 2 years ago. Like, they filmed it in June 22, so he probably wrote it in 2021, realistically. So he's had a long time to ponder it and think about it before kind of spouting all these extra theories around it. Because we know the commentary was only recorded a couple of months ago, which is where he reveals all. And he's had like 2 years to think about that. So I sort of wonder, is he kind of retroactively changing what he thinks his fan kind of the plan of it is? I don't know. Charlie, do you think Russell's just making it up as he goes along? Or is this all a grand master plan?
I really hope he's making it up as he goes along. I don't want, because we've had a Cartmel master plan, we've had a Chibnall master plan. I don't want a Russell T Davies master plan. I just miss the days when the Doctor was a Time Lord from Gallifrey who got bored and stole a TARDIS. Like, that's all the Doctor needs to be. I think making him a godlike figure just diminishes all that. I mean, I'm talking about the Timeless Child here more than but it's still just the way I see it, Doctor Who, like, lore canon has just been absolutely just obliterated so many times. It's completely irrelevant. And at this point, I just want 8 good episodes next year. That's just I just want a run of Doctor Who episodes where I'm excited, and I think I've had that in the last few weeks, definitely.
Yeah.
So I just want that to continue. I feel that the extended canon is just so completely just broken at this point. Just give us some episodes, make some more cool new stuff further down the line, but just give us some good scripts.
Yeah, I do feel like going forwards, and probably one of the reasons why the next series is being referred to as season 1 is that it's not a reboot, but that it's trying to be a bit more of a fresh start. We've obviously got sort of Ncuti's Doctor, rather than him being in post-regeneration trauma mode, he's just there, he's ready to go. Like, he is the new Doctor, and he's going to shoot off in that first episode, kind of almost like Chris Eccleston in Rose, where he's just the Doctor and ready, there's not anything to deal with. And I sort of feel like we've spent kind of like so many episodes and so many seasons talking about the lore of the show, as you say, like the Timeless Children and all that stuff, then all of this bioregeneration stuff. Even back to like the Capaldi days, I feel like there was still, even if it wasn't directly around the Doctor, there was still just a lot of canon stuff that I feel like I'm kind of hoping that we kind of move past a little bit. And it's cool to, like, sure, bring back Mel, that's great, cool. Inevitably the Master will come back, the Daleks will come back, cool, great. But, like, I don't think we need to massively, like, delve into the Doctor's backstory and change things anymore, whether that's by regeneration or the Timeless Child or anything else, because I feel like we've kind of done that to death now, and it's time to just move on and focus on telling good stories in the now and the future. And as I say, that can include a Dalek or the Master, but it doesn't need to be, you know, therefore we're going to change the original Dalek story to be something completely different because, I don't know, whatever happened. I mean, they did do that with Daleks in colour, but that's another podcast. But yeah, I just feel like we need that fresh start. I don't know, Ryan, is season 1/14 going to be the fresh start?
I hope so. I really hope so. And I hope the Master doesn't come back, because we've already had the Master so many times. I mean, as good as the character's been handled in, especially in Capaldi's run, and a fair amount in Whittaker's run, a fair amount, but I just want a break from the Master. It was nice that there was like a little reference, even if they kind of ripped off that bit from Last of the Time Lords, basically, as well as the whole another David Tennant living with a companion. That's Journey's End, basically. So I want to break from that. And Russell did mention that the Legions of the Toymaker are coming, and that's going to bring forward these pantheon of gods.
Yes, fantasy, interesting fantasy kind of ideas, isn't it?
Yeah, some interesting, like he's mentioned stuff like the gods of Ragnarok, for example, and all these other like godlike characters. If the Toymaker's like the god of games, for example, it could be bringing forth all of that. I mean, including this character, the one who waits, which does have me intrigued, because what could be so terrible and foreboding that it frightens a god, basically?
And exactly.
And is it the boss that the Meep was talking
about? Surely it's got to be the same character. Come on, obviously.
Yeah. And if it's a god, I mean, this may not happen at all. This may not happen, but I would love it to be a reincarnation of the Beast.
Okay. Yeah.
Would love it for that to happen. And Ncuti Gatwa mentioned in that video a year ago when he was announcing Doctor Who on Disney Plus and who the character is, one of the villains he would love to tackle is the Beast.
Interesting. Good spot. Ncuti
Gatwa said that would be a good. It says, what better villain for the Doctor to fight than the Devil, basically. And I think that would be really awesome if that happened, because the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit two-parter is top 10 best David Tennant episode. I love that story. It was one of my very first Doctor Who stories I've ever watched. It really stuck with me. Just how the many layers of that, and just how powerful the Beast was as a character, the Devil was, and how that character is begging for a rematch. And I would love to see like a reincarnation of that character being the big bad for Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, rather than having to rely on the bloody Master all the time. And I think that would be good. Or, you know, if not the Beast, then it could be Fenric. Who knows? Or Omega.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind Omega back. I think that'd be quite fun. And as you say, let's just not rely on the Master anymore. I feel like in this story, the Toymaker was infinitely more interesting than the recent Master appearances, in my opinion, just because he's very different. And it's like we've done the Master to death, literally, so many times. And I love the Master as a character, but also it comes a point where let's just give him a break for 3 years, 4 years. Let's just not see him until like the 4th series of RTD too. Like, we don't need it. And it's obviously we noted the very clear similarities to Last of the Time Lords, and it's worth noting that it was 2.5 years between that moment and the Master actually turning up again. So that like be the equivalent of like the middle of 2026 or something. So I feel like it doesn't mean it's going to happen in the next series. I think we can kind of rest assured that we're not going to see the Master. Well, I mean, maybe the Master is the Duchess, played by Indira Varma, in the new series. But I don't know. We'll see on that one. But Charlie, are you happy to see the Master hopefully gone for a while?
Yes, I think it'd be good if we had another Matt Smith sort of a Matt Smith type thing where we just don't see a Master for the whole of the Doctor's era. And then we have another incarnation at some point in the first season of the 16th Doctor. And this new Master is like the big bad of the 16th Doctor's era, similar to what we had with Missy and the 12th Doctor. I think it just made sense. The Master needs a break. I think it'd be good if we got a Dalek story maybe in the 2nd season of shooting. I think we've got to have the Dalek somewhere. I was really surprised we didn't have the Daleks in this trilogy we just had.
Yeah, that's a good point.
60th, 60th anniversary special of Doctor Who. I'm not saying have them as the main villain, but
yeah,
got to have them somewhere, you know?
Yeah,
like
a random cameo.
Sort of did with that Children in Need special Destination Star, but with Davos. But does it really
count? Not
Like the
really.
Carlets, but not the Daleks. Yeah, but I think it really surprised me. It felt, I mean, it didn't feel as much of an anniversary special, but at the same time, I'd rather Russell use this as an opportunity to tell three pretty interesting, very good stories than just hollow cameos that don't really mean much. Like, I'd rather have these 3 episodes than Matt Smith showing up in like a really mid episode.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
As much as I wouldn't mind cameos, but yeah, I think, bottom line, we need a break from the Master and the Daleks, but make him show up eventually, just not yet.
Yeah, I think it's good, and I think at the very least, Ncuti's first season needs to not have any of the Master Daleks or Cybermen in it. I think that's pretty we're really oversaturated with all of those villains that they just all need to stay away for at least another year. And what will probably happen is in a couple of months' time, we'll see some filming pictures from the next Ncuti season where there's some Daleks on set or something, and then we'll be like, okay, we haven't got that long to wait then until they all come back. But yeah, I think it's really interesting you say about the sort of feeling of the specials, because I'm interested, Bill. We obviously the 50th anniversary was a very clear anniversary special, whereas I feel like the 60th specials don't necessarily feel like as obviously anniversary specials. Like they are, because they're celebrating the 60th, and you've got Beep the Meep, and you've got the Toymaker, and new Doctors, and all of that. Like there is stuff in there, but I feel like it has a very different feeling to 10 years ago.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. I think it is because I think Russell has kind of said that he didn't want to do a multi-Doctor story. I think that's kind of worked out quite well, because we've had these trio of specials, which, to be honest, I think has been pretty good, pretty solid on the whole. I think what he's done is quite good, because, as you say, he's brought elements from the show's history, even from the comics with the Meep and stuff, into it, but he's still ultimately had it as its own new kind of thing, rather than just an anniversary special, because it's great to have anniversary specials, but we've had so many of them over the years in one form or another. We had stuff going on in the wilderness years with the Greyers, for example, for the 40th and stuff like that. So I think the fact that he decides to just get away from that for a little bit is completely fair enough. It would have been nice. I think I'm speaking for every fan here when I say it would have been nice to have seen other Doctors turning up, but I think what we got is still pretty good, and there's still. I feel like if you were to say which special of these feels perhaps the closest to an anniversary special, I would say it might be the Giggle, because at least that's kind of got, it's harkening back to the Hartnell era, obviously, of the Toymaker. So that's very relevant. It's obviously about a new beginning and looking to the future with Ncuti Gatwa and the Bigeneration and everything.
Yeah.
And you've got Mel from the 80s. You've got all sorts of stuff going on, and you've got loads of references that 14 or 15 just spouted each other for like 5 minutes towards the end.
That was a very let's just drop in some references for the fans. Marvick Chen.
Yeah, Marvick Chen didn't make much sense unless they were trying to hint at like Sarah Kingdom and Katarina, then that kind of makes sense.
It was a bit of a bizarre selection of things to say, but fair enough. I don't mind it.
But yeah, I think that is Russell's way of saying this is kind of like the closest to a 60th anniversary special you're going to get in terms of a traditional one.
Yeah.
And but that's not because it's not because Russell hasn't enjoyed. I'm sure Russell has enjoyed the anniversary special in the past, but I think the fact that he's chosen to do something new and more intriguing, I should say, I think that is been a pretty good idea of his, and I think it's worked out quite well, because it's given us 3 very interesting, very unique specials to talk about. And we can rant and rave about the Bigeneration and all sorts, but at the end of the day, it's done like something new. Whether that's a good or bad thing is up to each individual fan to discuss.
Yeah, I
But
think
it's new.
it's interesting because as we've said, sort of the reason that we've got 3 specials is because David Tennant and Catherine Tate could do 3 specials. Like Russell basically said, if they could have done 8 episodes, 10 episodes, would have done them. And I feel like if for whatever reason they'd done 8 or 10 episodes, we wouldn't be calling these the 60th anniversary specials. We'd just be calling this a new series of Doctor Who with an old Doctor in. Like, it's only the fact that it's a short number of episodes aired exactly at the time of the anniversary that we're kind of calling them the anniversary specials. It should almost be the Tennant and Tate specials. I feel like that sort of feels like a more accurate description of what they really were. I don't know, Charlie, do they sit as real anniversary specials to you, or not so much?
They do, just for the sake of, just for convenience sake, like every
yes.
Every multiple of 10 anniversary that we've had where Doctor Who's been on, so not the 30th or 40th, we've had a cool, special.
Yes, true.
I mean, in this case, it is a trilogy of specials, but at the end of the day, it just feels weird to not have an official 60th anniversary special. So we might as well call this a 60th anniversary special, even if it wasn't as conventional.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't feel like the 3 Doctors or the 5 Doctors or Day of the Doctor.
Yeah.
But then again, the 3 Doctors, it was broadcast like a year before.
Literally, it started in 1972.
Exactly. It was like literally December 1972, the first episode aired.
Yeah.
I think it was actually New Year's Eve 1972. And it was, that wasn't actually a special. It was just a multi-Doctor story that started in the 10th season of Doctor Who that was sort of the closest we had. I mean, season 11 was closest to the 10th anniversary, but
yeah, it was.
Even then, I think we still call it, that's a 10th anniversary special. Yes, it is. Just don't think too hard about it. It doesn't need to be a proper special film. It doesn't need to be broadcasted in cinemas for it to be sort of considered a 60th.
No, it's true. It's very true. Absolutely.
We can think of them as the Tennant and Tate specials, but at the end of the day, they were broadcast in November 2023.
Yeah, so they will always be the 60th specials ultimately, won't they? Right, well, I feel like we've tackled the really big topics of the Giggle. Let's just talk quickly about a few of the other things. Obviously, we saw the return of Mel in this story. Ryan, I feel like Mel is kind of one of those not very obvious companions to bring back, but nevertheless, she was there and saw the first of a bi-regeneration. So was it a good time to see Mel back, even if we knew it was happening?
It was definitely surprising. I mean, I had a feeling she was going to be in this story. I didn't realize how massive of a role she was going to have. It's clear Russell must really like Bonnie Langford. And I always felt Mel was kind of, in the past, she was kind of a whatever to me. She wasn't bad. I mean, she wasn't Adric, but she just didn't have much of an impact. I mean, half the time she was delightful, yet other time she kind of screamed a lot, but the problem was she wasn't given anything really meaty to do, really, in the past. And maybe this was Russell trying to rectify that with not just this episode, but also in Shooty's first series as well, because we know she's going to come back, as well as Kate and Shirley. So, and the Vlinks as well, that robot.
The Vlinks, it's so random. Like, he was just there. And we were like, okay, cool. There's just this random, like, alien robot thing. Cool, let's just go with it.
And voiced by Nick Briggs, apparently.
Oh, really? I didn't see that. Yeah.
And he's apparently going to get an upgrade in the next season, which should be interesting. And so it's interesting that they're expanding the unit team more with this robot, Mel, Shirley, and Kate, and
theoretically Donna as well.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that is
probably not.
But... it would be cool though. But then again, Rose is going to be involved a bit more in the next season as well. So if this is part of this whole unit team that's becoming recurring, then maybe lends credence to maybe that unit spin-off happening in the future. Who knows?
Isn't it? Yeah, but it seems like the Sea Devil one seems more likely at the moment based on the rumours. So it's a bit of a weird, because Russell keeps... I saw there was something in the latest Doctor Who magazine about something they've been waiting to announce for ages with an 8-word title that they haven't been able to announce yet. And what is the 8-word title for the Sea Devil spin-off? It just happens to be 8 words long. So, I don't know. Just thought it was interesting.
maybe this was his attempt to rectify the Sea Devils after Legend of the Sea Devils was a bit of a mess, shall we, to put it lightly?
Yeah. Charlie, are we going to save the Sea Devils?
I think, yeah, why not? I mean, I said Legend of the Sea Devils is my least favorite story in New Who. Probably all of Doctor Who. I'd say it's worse than Trial of the Time Lord.
Rough.
I really, really don't like it. It's just really, really bad.
Yeah.
But I know I saw a thing the other day, and someone suggested the 8-word title is The War Between the Land and the Sea.
Yes, yeah, that's the one that's doing the rounds. That's the
that
one
could
from
be
the
it.
Mirror article, which is 8 words. So
Why
could
not?
be.
Yeah, I'm honestly, Russell's got my trust at this point. Anything he's doing, I'm like, yeah, that could be good. I'm not saying it will be, but like with Chibnall, it was closer to it will not be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just very intrigued to see, like, if it is a Sea Devils spin-off type thing, like, who are the kind of humans in it then? We've got the Sea Devils as the villains, but is it UNIT? Is it some random other people? Like, it's not going to be the Doctor, because it's, you know, I just don't think it's going to go that way, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe this is the UNIT spin-off, and it's about the
Them
Sea
fighting the
Devils.
Sea Devils.
Yeah, and I'm curious about what the target audience is it going to be? Is it going to be for the same as this? Is it more Sarah Jane Adventures type audience? Even though they're kind of roughly the same target audience, or is it going to be more of a teen adult class Torchwood audience?
Interesting, yeah.
That's the thing that's got me the most curious. If
Yes.
it is going to be old, I want it to be the same level as Children of Earth, not necessarily the rest of Torchwood and Class. So I mean, the less said about Class, the better. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hoping this is good. And I have a feeling this is not going to be the only spin-off. I'm pretty sure there's going to be at least one more planned. But then again, who knows? You can have a bajillion spin-offs planned. Who knows?
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of hope we don't end up with a bajillion spin-offs. I'm happy with like 1 or 2. I think that's enough. Like we see from like Star Wars and Marvel, like it kind of is oversaturated with the amount of stuff they have. I don't think we need to go down that route with Doctor Who. The main show and at least like a spin-off to fill up the other half of the year. That's probably enough. Maybe an extra one here and there, but I feel like that's kind of all we really need. And so, Bill, we obviously had the re-establishment of UNIT, as we've mentioned. I thought it was, great to see them back, and they feel like they're really like a proper big team, and they've got this massive building which they did blow up, unlike Power of the Doctor. And it looks like that's pretty well established for the rest of the season to come. When like 4 years ago, UNIT basically didn't exist, so it's quite the turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. Oh yeah, that infamous scene where in Resolution
Brexit. Yeah.
Oh.
How far we've come.
It's quite a turnaround, yeah. Yeah, they're 100% setting up something with UNIT, 100%, because you can't just introduce a random robot called the Vlinks and then just never explain it.
Surely he's going to turn out to be evil, surely.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the boss.
Yeah, he reminds me of, his voice sounds a bit familiar. I don't know if he's kind of got a chameleon sort of like voice or something. Like Nicholas Briggs is inspired by Chameleon to voice him in that sort of way. Because he's just got that tone. Yeah.
I know what you mean,
I hope he gets used more than Chameleon, certainly. Because
yes, well, hopefully he's a prop that actually works, unlike Chameleon. That'd be a good start, yeah.
I saw a theory the other day that was saying it's all sort of linked, that the Vlinks is sort of a robot servant of like a higher supercomputer, and that the boss that Meek was talking about was actually Boss from Green Death.
Oh yes, let's bring back the Boss from the Green Death. Why not? Let's bring back the maggots as well.
I wouldn't put it past Russell to do something like that. Just bring back
I love it.
Random AI supercomputer from Green Death like 50 years ago. Why not?
Yeah, just do it. Well, we brought back the toy maker and beat the meat, so
Yeah, they should have a duel between Wotan and Boss.
I'm not sure that would be exciting for us as viewers. It might be exciting for the machines, but I'm not sure we'd have too much fun watching.
War machines versus giant maggots. That'd be so exciting.
Yeah, let's. I'm not sure that's going to be a Disney Plus spin-off somehow. I don't think that's going to really, engaging new fans. Wotan versus, it's just no, we're not going there. I think let's just quickly wrap up our sort of the giggle bit by asking the key question, which is how do we rank the 3 specials? Go on, Ryan, you go first. I think you kind of mentioned it earlier, but you go first. Give us your ranking of the three.
Well, it's Wild Blue Yonder at the top.
Yeah.
Then the Giggle, then Star Beast.
Okay. Charlie?
The same. I think I gave Wild Blue Yonder is like a strong 9. This is like a weak 9, and Star Beast was like an 8.
Yeah.
I rewatched them all in the last couple of days actually, since I rewatched the Star Beast right after the Giggle. Then I watched Wild Blue Yonder and the Giggle again yesterday. And comfortably, I do think Star Beast is the worst. It's not bad. I do feel the other two just have so much more going for them.
Yeah, it feels like the Star Beast is very much just re-establishing the show again, almost, rather than doing anything new or groundbreaking or exciting with it. And Bill, what's your ranking?
Say probably the same. I mean, I think we often tend to have the same opinions, don't we? Most Finns, or I'm
going to be controversial in a minute, so you share your thoughts.
Okay. I would say the special's been pretty good overall. I think they would be not there like among the all-time greats, but I think they would be sort of in the top 100, 150, let's say, which is, I think, a pretty good place for all of them to be.
Yeah.
And they've all just done something different to each other. It's not just been 3 Doctor Who episodes. It's been much more about each of them having a certain tone, a certain almost genre in a way, and just having lots of fun with Doctor Who and kind of being a bit of an anniversary special, but not at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And well, I'm going to echo your thoughts and say the Giggle is my favourite. So there we go. Controversial. I know. I still don't know how I feel about the last 15 minutes, but like most of the story, the Toymaker storyline, I love it. I think it's crazy, wacky, brilliant. I love the creativity of it. The fact that Toymaker is just a villain that can do anything. There's no limits to what he can do and what he can be. And the way we see that on screen, I think, is fascinating, even if a bit rushed. I do really like Wild Blue Yonder, and it is second to, and the Star Beast is kind of clearly third, I feel like. But I don't know, I just got slightly more kind of excitement out of watching the Giggle, and I feel like it maybe has a bit more rewatchability than Wild Blue Yonder, as well. As great as it is, and the performances and everything is fantastic in that. But I feel like once you know that, and you know the story, you know the twist, sort of how it's all going to play out, there's just a little bit more to get your teeth into, and the sort of interesting ideas and concepts in the Giggle that just it's like real close, but I think they just tip over the Giggle as my favourite. And it feels just slightly more anniversary than all the other ones, which I quite like as well. So I think that's probably where I sit on that. But well, that's all we've got to talk about the actual specials. We're going to have a quick chat about a few other things, because of course, just before the Giggle, a couple of days before, the BBC decided to announce a terrifying new animation of the Celestial Toymaker. It looks like we thought the Web of Fear was bad. How are we all feeling? Go on, Ryan. How are we feeling?
I didn't know they were going to do like a Telltale Games version of Doctor Who for that, or a Redux of Dreamland, but I mean, honestly, I think it looks better than the Web of Fear, I think. And who knows, maybe this animation style will work really well for the Celestial Toymaker. But I'm cautiously optimistic. Cautiously. I mean, it's not like absolute dread like I got with the Web of Fear, but it's a bit 50-50. I'll wait until the final product, but I can't say I'm overly excited, even though I am happy that we are getting the Celestial Toymaker. And funnily enough, I actually listened to the parts 1 to 3 and watched part 4 again before the Giggle. I actually watched it done it a few hours beforehand, so I can get the full experience of the Toymaker. So, you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, Charlie, I think it's interesting that they're only animating 3 out of the 4. They're not going down the route of animating all of them again. It's just they're going to keep the existing one there. So maybe the idea behind the animation is to kind of make it fit more with the one that exists, but also I don't know. What do you think?
At the end of the day, it's probably just to save money.
Ultimately, yes.
And
it's very
honestly,
true.
if it means that we're maybe a year closer to a Daleks Master Plan animation, I'm fine with that. Honestly, at this point, I would have no animations until 2029 if it means Mission to the Unknown, Daleks Master Plan, 3 discs, 13 episodes, just here you go. I would love that. And in like Faceless One's Evil of the Dalek style as well. I'd love that.
Yeah. Well, let's just keep ticking them off the list. Then we'll get to Dalek Master Plan.
Exactly. Yeah, at the end of the day, Celestial Toymaker, I mean, I don't really have to say it. It looks pretty bad. But at the end of the day, it is better than Telesnaps. And
true. Yeah, it's true. It's always going to be better than Telesnaps.
It's another one to tick off. I mean, it would be quite nice if we got Marco Polo, The Crusade, The Wheel in Space, and The Space Pirates all would complete a season.
Yes, yeah.
But
I know.
season 3 is absolutely demolished season 3. So it's good that we've got something to sort of tick that.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Bill, are you got any excitement for this apart from it's a new animation?
I mean, no, it's like Ryan says, we have to just kind of see what happens and see what the finished product looks like. I mean, the thing is I think even the Web of Fear animation, the original teaser for that, looks different to the final version. So I'm sure they will do some tweaking between now and then. It is a very strange, very unique sort of animation style, but I think it, because it kind of looks a bit surreal, it kind of works with that particular story, because that is kind of what the story was trying to do anyway. You can have a debate about whether it succeeded or not, but I feel like, so therefore kind of the fact that the characters especially look genuinely quite terrifying kind of works quite well. And I think the one thing I will say is I think the backgrounds look pretty good. Like, obviously they're still doing that thing of where they're not being authentic to the originals, which some people have an issue with. I myself am not too fussed either way, but I feel like it works quite well in that, because they're able to again bring that surreal quality to the story, just amp it up to 11 really, and just make it, because it's not, I wouldn't say it's a bad story, it's just I feel like it's kind of the victim of two. I think it kind of went through two production teams, because it was kind of like started by one, and then the next one inherited it, and then had the two had very different ideas of what they wanted to do with the story. So I think the original version would have been a lot darker, and maybe I could dare say perhaps a bit more interesting in that respect. But having said that, episode 4 is quite good. And there's some great stuff going on between the First Doctor and Toymaker. Michael Gough is a brilliant guest actor. And I think it's a solid choice. I mean, I didn't realize just how easy it would be for them to do, because there's very little characters in it altogether.
True.
It's actually got one of the lowest amounts. So, and then it's only 3 episodes, as you say. So it's not really that difficult for them to do. I'm looking forward to the bit where in episode 3, especially, where you've got Sergeant Rugg and Mrs. Wiggs playing about in the kitchen in animation. That should be quite interesting.
It's going to be quite bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to pull that off, but it'll be very interesting, certainly. And again, as you say, it's nice to have the animations just continue more than anything. It doesn't matter what story it is. I think we'll just take it, whether it's a story we like or not.
Exactly. Ultimately, we're going to take it, and well, we're going to get this at some point in 2024. I expect it'll be like 9 months or something. And I should just quickly fact check myself and say they are actually animating all of the episodes, not just 3 of them. Like the start of the press release implies it's only 3 of them, and then the end of it says all 4. So it's actually all 4, which is cool. So I guess we can see the whole craziness without switching back to black and white kind of old Doctor Who for the last episode. But yeah, I'm sure when it comes around, we will be discussing it. And we haven't forgotten about the Underwater Menace. That will also be in a future podcast as well, along with the Daleks in Colour. We will be discussing all of those things because this is the sort of stuff we cover on this podcast. But before we go, the one last thing to talk about is the Christmas special, because we had a trailer, we have a new sonic screwdriver. I mean, is it a screwdriver anymore? And we have the Goblin song. So there's a few things going on. Charlie, the trailer for the church on Ruby Road. What do we think? What's going to happen? What's the vibe you're getting from it?
It feels very Christmas Invasion to me.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. The first proper story of a new Doctor. You've got a big airship with weird creatures on it. It feels very Christmas Invasion. That's what my first impression was. It looks good. I think it's going to be a good story. Maybe not like incredible, but like, I don't know, it just feels very fresh from the trailer. I just got the impression that it's very much a new slate, soft reboot type thing. Ruby looks like a fun companion. Again, she feels very Rose Tyler from what we've seen. It's very much just RTD wants another Rose Tyler, but Billy Piper doesn't want to come back. We've got Millie Gibson. I think it just looks very new, very fresh, just a nice clean slate. And I think, I mean, the Goblin song aside, it just, that's so weird. But I think it's Russell sort of realizing that Doctor Who villains are goofy and weird and silly. And it's not really a thing to be taken too seriously, because I feel what Chibnall did a bit too much of was try and make villains too dark and edgy and like... I mean, it's good to have that occasionally, and we kind of had that. Well, we did have that in Wild Blue Yonder. But it's not a great thing to try and constantly do. And I feel Russell's sort of reminding us, Doctor Who's so dumb, it's so stupid.
You love
it.
That's it. Doctor Who is a silly show.
So goofy. So having a story about the Doctor and a new companion going to an airship to fight some goblins, sure, why not?
Yeah, while they sing and they're in a band, while they eat a baby, like, it's absolutely nuts. All of it's crazy, but that's Doctor Who. That is Doctor Who at its peak, isn't it? Really,
exactly. It's going to be good, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And Ryan, anything else to take from the trailer, or the new Sonic Sky TV remote, as Shooty Gatwa put it?
Looking like a keyboard mouse.
It's unique.
I would say it looks like kind of like a Sonic pad rather than a Sonic screwdriver, but it does look interesting. It does have a very similar color scheme to Capaldi's Sonic screwdriver. It has the same colors, and I do like the it shows like a little crystal inside it, and all how you can, it's kind of retractable, or sort of retractable, that it sort of flips open. The two halves, you kind of flip it open, and there's all the different buttons on it. And that one little thing that pops out at the end that you can plug into like machinery and also act as a torch as well. That's interesting. It's definitely the most bizarre looking Sonic screwdriver I've ever seen, but I would take it over Jodie Whittaker's Sonic screwdriver any day, because to me that is the weakest Sonic to date. Whittaker. And I don't know why they went with that decision, but I mean,
let's hope that at least Shooty is using it less like a prop than Jodie did. Do you remember when Jodie always used to do that dramatic arm thing every single time she used it? That really, like, the same awkward, like, I'm holding a prop and I'm going to point it kind of thing. It was just a bit awkward. I hope Shooty doesn't do that.
I'm hoping he does, and hopefully it's used efficiently more this time, and not just be overly relied on that. At least that's what I'm hoping. The rest of the trailer does look interesting. It does look very Christmas Invasion. I do like the design of like the goblin ship. It looks like a pirate ship. It looks really good, and the goblins do look kind of Baby Yoda-ish almost. They do interesting design. I'd be interested to know if it's like a combination of CGI and practical again, like how
they look quite practical, kind of. They look like real things, really, don't they?
Yeah, I'm interested in that. And the Goblin song, a song about the King Goblin and eating babies, well, what is there to say? It's kind of like, it's almost like a kids pop version of that Goblin song from the first Hobbit movie. It does reminded me a lot of that, and involves like a Goblin King also, and it does kind of remind me of that. But I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I hope I have a good time with it. Will it be on the same level as some of the best first solo Doctor stories? I mean, it's not technically his first story because it was in the Giggle. I mean, 15 minutes, yeah, sure, but it was like a proper appearance by 50. But if we were to like take into account first solo appearance, like it was just one Doctor from beginning to end, would it reach the same heights as something like the 11th Hour or Deep Breath? I don't know. I mean, I would love it to. I would love another Deep Breath or 11th Hour type story. But I'm really excited. I'm hoping to have a really good time with it, and I'm hoping it gets me excited for the rest of the series that will be arriving by about May. I think they said it would be about May. I'm just hoping it gets me excited for what's to come.
It's going to be great to see what the new Doctor's like, and to see, just him on screen, him in action on Christmas Day. I think it's going to be really exciting, and something I'm certainly very much looking forward to. And I think what the 60th specials have kind of made me realise is that I'm more excited for the future of Doctor Who. It's been cool to see David back and Catherine back and all of that. It's been great. But actually, I'm excited for fresh new Doctor Who next year, or Christmas and next year, with a new Doctor, a new companion, a new era of the show. Because that's what Doctor Who's all about. It's about being new. It's about refreshing and changing. And I'm really excited for that. And I think it's going to be really fun on Christmas Day. So that is just about all we've got time for in this edition of the podcast. We will, if not before, be back shortly after Christmas to discuss The Church on Ruby Road. And I'm sure we'll be back for many podcasts in 2024 as well to discuss all the new releases of both old Doctor Who and new Doctor Who. It's going to be a very exciting time, I think, as I feel like we're really in the new era now. But guys, do remember to follow us on Twitter or X at KerVAM Pod. You can check these podcasts out in Vision on YouTube on my channel EMS Productions. But from me, from Ryan, from Charlie, from Bill, it is goodbye for now.